Okay, so a few years ago, we did one of our most popular videos called the Battle of the Weissachs, where we had the 991 GT2 RS and the 991 GT3 RS. Well, fast forward to today, and we've got the new generation of Weissachs. We've got the Cayman GT4 RS, and we've got the 992 GT3 RS. So today, we're going to do a video comparing these two cars. We're going to check out the different styling, performance, the features, and later on, we'll touch on just where the market is on these two cars. Okay, so we're going to start off talking about the different Weissach packages on each car. So on the GT4 RS, we'll start off with, obviously carbon fiber is a massive part of the Weissach package, obviously reducing weight and obviously making it look pretty cool too. So on the GT4 RS, which is about £12,000 for the Weissach package, you get the carbon fiber bonnet, large piece here with little vents in the bonnet. You also get the carbon fiber mirrors and the little side triangles here. Then you get some air intakes. So these air intakes here behind the door in carbon fiber, and then this here behind the window, front window in carbon fiber. And then you also get the huge rear wing all in carbon fiber, that lovely swan neck design. I mean, for me, the key feature of the Weissach package on the GT4 RS is these air intakes here, because this is where the air, fast moving air, is going straight into the cabin, into that air box there. And that's one of the reasons why the GT4 RS sounds so good, because of that air going straight in here. So that's one of the main selling points of the Weissach package on the GT4 RS. You don't get carbon fiber roof like I'm going to show you on the GT3 RS. Obviously, the GT3 RS, the design is very different on the front. You get that sort of more decorative look, a bit like the 991 GT2 RS. With the stripes, carbon fiber stripes, and you get these huge vents in the bonnet of all these kind of shark fin type louvres. So that is on the bonnet. You also get the mirrors and the little side triangles here like you do on the GT4 RS. But one of the big differences on the 3 RS is you get that full exposed carbon fiber roof, which just looks amazing, and you get these cool little fins as well, just helping with that aerodynamics. You don't get the carbon fiber air intakes here behind the door on the side like you do on the GT4 RS. But of course, the GT3 RS, all about this huge wing. And on the Weissach package, the main difference here is instead of this in sort of a black trim, you get that carbon fiber all along with the hydraulics, obviously for that DRS activation. Just looks incredible. And on the underside, you'll be able to just see the Porsche logo just looking really cool underneath. Okay, so just before we move on to the wheels and the interior features on the Weissach packages, just wanted to show you a few more differences on the exterior and some of the aero features. So on the 4 RS, I noticed actually the front splitter sticks out quite a lot more than it does on the 3 RS. You also get the 3 radiator style grills, and on the 3 RS you get that just central singular radiator, and that's one of the big design differences, all about creating downforce. So you have this huge radiator which basically takes up all the luggage space. And then obviously Porsche had to be pretty clever about where all that hot air has to go. So you have these huge louvres compared to the 4 RS louvres. These are almost twice the size. And then you get all these little air flicks as well. That's all just allowing the car to release air. And then you also have these much bigger side skirts too. Okay, so now we're going to discuss the wheels. So, as part of the Weissach package on the GT3 RS, you do get magnesium wheels as standard as part of the pack. There are, of course, the standard forged aluminium wheels, and there's also a lightweight forged aluminium wheels they do for about £2,000, but you do get these mag wheels as part of that £29,000 Weissach package. Part of the reason that's so expensive is because of the wheels. There is this sort of new design they've got over the 991, where they've got these sort of hollow sections in the wheels, and it's just a new design. It is a little bit harder to distinguish between the standard wheels and the Weissach wheels, but these mag wheels are definitely the ones you want. Obviously still got that satin black center locks, and these ones are painted in satin neodyme. You can get them painted in black, grey, indigo blue. You can also get them painted in pyro red, which is a new wheel colour. But yeah, those look amazing. And then on the GT4 RS, this is more similar to sort of the old style magnesium wheels. Still get the center locks. But yeah, again, it's all about losing weight here, getting these mag wheels. So the big difference on the GT4 RS is you don't get them as part of the Weissach package. They are a separate option. They're £11,500. So you're definitely, you know, whether it's really worth it, you'll have to make that decision. It's obviously better to have them, but shouldn't really be a deal breaker, perhaps like it is on the 3RS. Just while we're here as well, I mentioned the brakes. Because ceramic brakes are not standard, they're not part of the Weissach package on either car. So on this 4RS, these are actually the steel brakes. There's a big supply shortage, a lot of you will probably know. It's very hard to get ceramic brakes. So actually, we're pretty lucky on the 3RS that they've got ceramic brakes, because not many cars have got them. You'll notice the yellow brake calipers, you can get those painted in black as well, like they are, like we've got them here on the 4RS. Okay, so now moving on to the rears of the car, and obviously these two cars look very different from behind. I mean, the obvious thing is this wing. I mean, the size difference between these two wings is vast. I mean, this is actually the first car in Porsche's history where the wing sits slightly above the roofline. It's a mad thing. It's blurring the lines between a road car and a race car. Obviously, this is electric with the DRS compared to the fixed wing of the GT4 RS. It is manually adjustable in 3 stages, but obviously it's just sat there. Underneath, the design is totally different. Obviously this is a 911, this is a Cayman, so you get all the like 911 design language here with the brake light sitting on that rear grille. You get that light bar the whole way across. Both cars have this little sort of rear spoiler lip, and then down below, obviously you've got these aero blades here again. I mean, you can actually see half of the tyre behind these, but again, it's all that airflow. I think it provides 70% more airflow across the side of the car. And then the diffusers. So you've got way more sort of fins on the diffuser on the 3RS. You get that dual twin exhaust here compared to the exhaust on the 4RS, which they're set slightly further apart. Not quite as many fins on the diffuser. But look, in terms of sort of presence, obviously this thing, I'm actually being sort of, it towers above me. This wing is crazy. Okay, so now we're going to do a little sound test. Unfortunately, this is going to have to be a static sound test. Both of these cars have sold in the last couple of days, so we won't be able to take them out on the road. But let's hear how they sound whilst they're sat here. Okay, so I'm not quite sure how that came across on camera, but certainly sitting in the cabin, there was no doubt that on the GT4 RS, because of that open air box, it's literally sat there behind your head. It's so much louder, like on my left ear, it was just booming. Whereas on the GT3 RS, you could hear that the sound was at the rear of the car, not so much in the cabin. Still sounded pretty damn sweet, but for me, the 4RS just sounds that little bit more intoxicating. Okay, so now we're going to compare the different performance. Fortunately, as I said, these cars are both sold, so we can't take them out on the road today or the track. I have driven both cars myself briefly, so I'll summarize my thoughts and obviously look at the different stats. But look, there's no secret that the GT3 RS is obviously priced a lot higher than the 4RS, and overall performance, you would expect this to be a level above. I mean, the 4RS does hold its own though. You've got to remember both these cars have the same engine, the same flat six 4 litre, obviously mid-mounted on the GT4 RS, as you can see, and on the GT3 RS it is rear mounted. Obviously you cannot see that, that is actually, engine compartment is locked, so you can't open that up. But in terms of actual power, the GT3 RS does have a little bit more power, 25 brake horsepower, but this doesn't translate into a higher top speed. Actually, the GT4 RS has the higher top speed, 195 miles an hour compared to 184. That is because despite this having quadruple the amount of downforce, because of that huge wing, that is obviously increasing the drag, which lowers the top speed. Does have a slightly faster 0 to 62, 3.4 seconds of the 4RS to 3.2 seconds of the 3RS. Although I have seen a couple of videos on YouTube in a drag race, actually the 4RS has actually won. So I think that's because of that higher top speed as well. You've got to remember the GT4 RS is a lighter car, shorter gear changes, obviously less drag, so that is a major factor. So where the GT3 RS does come into its own is definitely on track. So this thing, I believe, is 20 seconds quicker around the Nürburgring than the GT4 RS. That is quite a lot of time. That is partly down to its wider body, so you get much wider tyres, wider wheels. That is giving you so much more grip. Then you combine that with the bigger wing, all that extra downforce, all the extra aero. I mean, basically this thing, where it gains all that speed is in the corners, and this thing will eat up the GT4 RS around a track. Then you look at all the different settings. This has got way more tech. It's got 7-stage traction control. You can customize all the different tech in the car. So without a doubt, when it comes to a track car, this thing is definitely a level above. But where the GT4 RS does have a bit of an advantage over the 3RS is down to its usability. You know, Porsche are pretty open about the fact that whilst all RS cars are built with the track in mind, they have sacrificed a bit of track performance just to make the 4RS a more fun street car. I actually found both cars pretty easy just to jump in and go. Obviously the PDK gearbox, they're both pretty smooth at lower speeds and easy to move around. But the downside is when you're actually going at some speed, both cars have very hard suspension, so you're going to feel every bump in the road. Not ideal for a daily. And also on the GT4 RS, with all that extra noise, which, don't get me wrong, is amazing and super fun. It makes the car really fun and exciting to drive. If you're going to have that as a daily car, possibly not ideal. The 3RS I actually found a little bit more comfortable. I don't know if that's because it's just a bit quieter in the cabin. There's a bit more luxury inside. So yeah, the GT3 RS surprised me actually. Other than this big wing, it's actually a pretty comfortable car to live with. In terms of practicality though, the GT3 RS is not ideal. Obviously if you've got the roll cage, not only does it impact visibility, but there's obviously nowhere to put a bag in the back. You do have a few little sort of cubby holes here and there, bit of cargo net, little compartment in the center console, you've got a glove box, but other than that, there is nowhere to stash a proper bag. But look, whilst we know this is a track car, this is incredibly impractical. Whereas on the GT4 RS, whilst you have similar issues with the roll cage and the visibility, if not worse in the 4RS, and also a similar amount of little storage space inside the cabin, you do get 2 proper sections to store stuff. So in the back, because it lifts up, you've got a little section there where you can fit your shopping, and you also have a nice big area in the front compartment where you can store a proper set of weekend luggage. Okay, so now moving on to the interiors. So we'll start off with the GT4 RS, and this will be a pretty familiar cabin to most Porsche owners. So you've got the carbon fiber racing seats, the 918 seats as many people call them, the bucket seats which have got the Weissach embossed onto the headrests. The nice thing with the GT4 RS is you get a choice of the interior fabric. So you get the race tech through the middle, but this has been spec'd in Arctic Grey, which is obviously one of the newer colours. and they've got all that perforation running through the seats as well. So you also get the race text on the dashboard. That's also part of the Weissach package. Alcantara race text steering wheel. But the most important part for me is that roll cage. So you can actually spec the Weissach package without the roll cage. I think it actually brings the price down by 2 or 3 grand. But for me, I think you want it. It's a titanium roll cage. This is a track focused car, so it definitely adds to the whole character. Okay, so into the driver's seat. And as I said before, this is pretty familiar to GT4 owners. It is the sort of old generation of tech here. You still get the analog triple screens there, touchscreen nav on the simple screen here. Carbon fiber through the middle. See all the old school buttons. PDK gearbox. Obviously all RS product is now PDK. There is no manual option like there is on the GT4. You get little things like your cup holders. Obviously nice little Weissach plaque there. Cup holders in here. Glove box. And you get your lightweight door pulls to open a door. Obviously no heavy door handles in here. Very simplistic steering wheel, all covered in race text, but no buttons at all on the steering wheel. But yeah, look, this is what you want from a GT4 RS. But you will notice in the GT3 RS, it really has come on leaps and bounds. Okay, so now onto the interior of the GT3 RS. So other than the carbon fiber bucket seats, which are more or less the same as the 4RS, other than these have actually been fitted with the harnesses, they're yet to be fitted in the 4RS. The interior is actually pretty different. So I'll come on to a lot of details in a bit, but I'll start off by going through the Weissach package on the 3RS. So the main thing here is the roll cage. So instead of titanium, they're actually made in satin carbon fiber. Look super cool. Again, you don't have to spec the roll cage with the Weissach package. That does bring the price down. And I believe in the US, you can't actually spec a roll cage at all in a road legal car. But the other nice things about the Weissach package is you get this really nice grab handle down here, sort of 2-spoke, really nice piece of carbon there. I think that's just Alcantara if you don't have Weissach. You also get the upper part of the dashboard in race text, which looks really nice, also helps reduce reflections. And then finally, something I really like is the shift paddles. So these on the Weissach package are actually made of magnesium. They've also got a very satisfying clunk because I think it has magnetic technology in there. So that is a really nice upgrade from the standard car. But now we'll sit in the car and just have a further look. So into the driver's seat of the 992 GT3 RS, and instantly feels snug in these full bucket seats. It is worth mentioning you can spec the adaptive sport seats, the comfort seats in both this and the GT4 RS, but you know, 99% of the people are going to want these seats. So totally new steering wheel, obviously covered in that race text, but all the different buttons here on the steering wheel, so you get your different driving modes to go into track mode. You've got your DRS button. Definitely feels way more advanced than the GT4 RS. And what's also quite nice is it's much more minimalistic on the center console. You don't get all the buttons here. You do get these nice buttons up here for your front axle lift. And in general, the whole sort of infotainment and digital displays feels much more sort of modern and cohesive with the rest of the car. You get your little door pulls here, again, saving weight, a little bit slightly different design to the GT4 RS, slightly more loopy. You get your nice Alcantara perforated door panels there. But in general, and you get your cup holder right in the middle, so that is a lot more convenient than having it over there on top of the glove box. But in general, it just feels a lot more modern, a lot more luxurious than GT4 RS, which is a little bit strange considering this is a much more extreme track car. Okay, so finally we are going to discuss the market on these two cars. Obviously these are limited production cars, two of the most sought after cars in the world. So, you know, people can get a bit sensitive over the sort of premiums that these cars could make. But look, in terms of their list price, so today in the UK at least, the GT4 RS base price is £123,000. That does include a bit of a price increase earlier this year. The GT3 RS is £192,600. So that is before you start adding the Weissach package, £29,000 extra, another £12,000 of this. Then you add the magnesium wheels, that's another £11,500. ceramic brakes, so £6,000 or £7,000. Then you're going to want to add things like reverse camera, front axle lift, Bose sound system maybe. So quite quickly you can get these cars speccing up to 150 and probably 240, 250 on the 3 RS. So that is basically the original list price. So these obviously came out first. So these came out last year. The figure that was sort of floating around early on was £100,000 over list. That is where the sort of first few cars hit the market at. You have to remember there was a lot of supply issues on the 4 RS, and there still is. Carbon ceramic brakes was a massive shortage, so a lot of cars have come through without them, and to the point where people that have ordered them with ceramic brakes, basically their car turned up and they were just like, you know, doesn't have ceramics, take it or leave it. That's literally what Porsche did. So quite a few cars don't have them, and it is still impacting deliveries today. So after the first few were sold, they started to come down a bit towards sort of £75,000 over list. Today they're probably somewhere between £50,000 and £70,000 over list, depending on sort of mileage and spec. You know, the car's been out for a year now, so I think they are holding pretty strong. You know, as I said, the supply issues are still there. There's very low supply of GT4 RSs, and when you think Porsche are pumping out Turbo S's and Targa GTS's to every man and his dog now, it does bode well for the GT4 RS. There is still very few around. Okay, so now onto the 3 RS. You know, a lot of people asked me before they came out, how much do you think the premium will be on the GT3 RS? I mean, perhaps reservedly, I said, I reckon £150,000 over list. You know, when you look at that at 150 sounded about right, so about 400 grand in total. And actually, yeah, I was wrong. The first few cars all were about 500 grand. So double money, double the list price. You know, obviously some people will absolutely balk at, you know, double money, but, you know, unless you've actually played the Porsche game and, you know, sacrificed premiums on other GT cars that you've been forced to sell back to Porsche at list price, and, you know, taken heavy losses on other cars and sold your soul a little bit to Porsche, you know, you're never going to get an allocation. You know, these cars are like gold dust, so, you know, they're never going to return to list price. You know, you only have to look at the 991 GT3 RS Weissach. That's still, you know, 3 or 4 years later, still fetching close to £50,000 over. The 991 GT2 RS, you know, that's still almost 100 grand over list. So, you know, these, it's no surprise really that these are well into the 400s. Yes, they might come down a little bit over the next couple of years, but you have to think, what else can you buy for the same money? You know, in the 400 to 500 mark, you've got, you know, an AMG GT Black Series. That's a big competitor of this car. You've got the Aventador SVJ. That's now well into the 400s. But neither of those cars is a GT3 RS. These cars have such a strong following and a bigger client base. You know, 400, 500 grand is not going to get you a McLaren Senna. It's not going to get you a new Ford GT. It might get you a Pista Pilotti or a 911R, but, you know, this is so fresh to the market now, and it's just a super hot car. Even if you look further ahead, what else is coming out? You've got the Lamborghini Revuelto, 600 grand. You've got SF90 XX, that's going to be 750 grand plus. So, you know, in terms of the premium, yes, it's a big premium. It sounds a lot, but I think it's better off looking at what else you can buy for the same money and, you know, compare like for like. Is it worth that kind of money? I think it is. I think both these cars are worth the premiums today. Yes, you could wait around for a couple of years and maybe get them for a little bit less, but, you know, that's where they are at the moment. Okay, there we have it. That is the Battle of the Weissachs Part 2. What do you think is the better buy? I think it really does come down to whether you want a proper track car, where you'll go with the 3, or if you want a slightly more road car, a little bit more usability, you might want to get the 4 RS. But look, we'd love to hear your comments. What do you think of these two cars, the specs as well? We're going to try and do a few more regular videos going forward, so please subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you again very soon.